I'm grateful you're here. I expect all of you here because you want to, state the obvious, hear about forgiveness. I expect for some of you it's something maybe you're struggling with.
Yes.
My intention is to talk for maybe half the time, if that, but I'm kind of worried. And then I'm going to open it up because I don't want you sitting there listening to me talk for 50 or 55 minutes and not have a chance to maybe unpack some bags. Unpack a bag that you've got some forgiveness issues in. That's the goal. So this is a safe place. This is the vibe. This is a safe place to share it, to open up if you feel safe to do so. And I've done this presentation before, and we've had some pretty raw conversations. We've had anger. We've had people yell at me, and they've said, "Are you trying to tell me that I'm supposed to forgive?" I shot back immediately. No. I'm not telling you you're supposed to forgive, but you have to forgive. I'm telling you, when and if you get there, it might come. It's a journey. We're all on a journey. So, my name's Ernie Jackson. My wife's in the back, Christine Jackson. We've been on this journey for 15 years. We've published a couple of books, Clinton's Messages and Clinton's Legacy. I'm up here talking about forgiveness because of what happened to me, specifically at the accident scene that caused our son to transition. It's gonna sound unbelievable. Even in my own mouth now, after 15 years, I end up thinking, really? But it happened. But before I jump in on this heavy topic, I want to thank you for being here at the conference. We are helping parents heal. And what are we about? We're about recognizing the signs. That's what really saved my life, if you will, on my grief journey. I didn't know it worked this way. I had no clue. So when Quentin, our son, began to visit, I was excited. I was on fire. It took my breath away. And I think most of you have had signs. Can you show of hands? Amen. Very good. For those of you who haven't, that's okay. It's not a race. None of this is a race. For those of you who don't think you've had signs, I personally would love a chance to sit and talk to you over a tea or something and maybe help you recognize that you have had some signs. Well, there was this one time something really strange happened. Yeah, now we're going to talk. I want us to understand and own that when we're getting signs from our kids and our loved ones, whether that's grandma, grandpa, mom, dad, siblings, sons or daughters, their purpose alive. James Van Prague nailed it, and so many have. Dead people don't send signs. Only the living do. And I hung my hat on that 5 days after Quentin passed. I hung my hat on that. I still had some grieving to do. I still had rage. I still had anger. I spent time in the gym moving iron. I yelled and screamed and drove crazy a little bit, hit the pillow, whatever you got to do. Grieve. Okay? But understand, kids are alive and well. Because they said the signs. The dream visits, oh my goodness. Those are incredible. The hummingbirds, the dragonflies, the butterflies, oh my God. the thing that sort of makes you say, oh, that's never happened before. That's incredible. Yes. So, our kids show us their eternal. Right? We agree? Does it not follow that so are we? Yes? So we're going to exist beyond the flesh just like our kids do. I said that to say this. We're still here because we got some stuff to do. Each of us, and it's an individual journey. We're still here because we have stuff that we've got to work on, overcome, we get to experience, we get to enjoy. It's a gift to be here. And we all have stuff we still need to work on. Okay? Some of us are here because we have to work on forgiveness. And that is not easy. Nothing I say here is meant to make it sound easy. It's not easy. Okay? So let me tell you why Helping Parents Heal wants me to have this conversation. It was June 10th, 2009. We were in an accident. We were coming home on vacation. We were 30 feet off the road. The trailer we were pulling, the axle broke. There was a young lady that fell asleep. No drugs, no alcohol. I know for some of you, you're probably going to think, well, maybe that makes it easier. Sometimes we get caught up in the drama of how our loved ones transition. Why can we blame somebody? Who can we be angry at? Who can we not forgive? No drugs, no alcohol. She fell asleep. She was coming home from college. She was almost home. She fell asleep and she took us out. She went off the road. We were 30 feet. We parked. They measured. 30 feet off the road. My wife and I were on the passenger side of our Suburban hitch trailer. Amanda, we got to know her and know her very well. She went off the road, snapped away, tried to correct, came up into where we were. She went to the ditch. She came up near point. Hit me on my hip, launched me. And she was in a Pontiac Sunbird, I think. I've seen them on the street. They typically come to my knees. She hit me on my hip, so she's in the air by 15 inches. Launched me 18 feet. They measured. I landed. I see my old eyes. I see dust. I see a bumper. I see my wife's torn and twisted body. Oh, she was dead. I mean, I think she did die, and I think our son brought her back. My mother-in-law's in the car. My daughter's in the car. My daughter's best friends are in the car. They run out to Christine. Quentin, our son, was there. He wasn't hit by the car like I was and like Christine was. He was between the back of our Suburban and still hitched jet ski trailer. So after Amanda hit us, she hit me. She sideswiped the Suburban, the whole Suburban, violently. I mean, she airborne and bouncing. I don't know how fast she was going, 40, 45. Quentin got whiplashed. His legs had to have been up against the trailer. He got whiplashed. Afterwards, I saw where his head had dented the Suburban, and he came down. Got a gash on his head when he bounced off the trailer. I come to, I see this mess. Do a quick assessment, make sure I'm not missing any limbs. I roll over, there's my son. Everybody's going to my wife. I drag myself over to my son. Okay, that's the drama of it. That's not why we're here. The only reason I shared that is because I don't want anybody here thinking I hadn't gone through it, that we hadn't gone through it, and that made it easy for us to forgive. No, we have the pain, we have the blood, We have the nightmares, just like any of you do. We are you. We're family, okay? Just like you. If you're struggling with forgiveness, I got every right to struggle with forgiveness. I'm not sure, I think I know why I was able to forgive at the accident scene without even thinking the word forgiveness. So, Amanda, she did what she did. She woke up, she went off the embankment, she came up, and she surveyed this scene. Can you imagine being her? She went to where my wife was, my mother-in-law, my daughter, and she actually talked to my daughter. Cheyenne, my daughter Cheyenne, told her it's going to be okay. So I don't know where that came from, but it's good for her. Then she walked over to Quentin and I. We're on the ground. No words were spoken. I'm bleeding. Quentin's got blood on him. I'm holding him. And she saw what I wasn't ready to admit. She saw he was gone. And I'm looking up at her and I look at her eyes. I see her soul. She's freaking out. She is in such pain because she knows from a human perspective, from a worldly perspective, she's responsible for this. It broke my heart to see that in her eyes. It didn't bring me joy. It broke me apart. It broke my heart to see that pain in her eyes. From a certain perspective, because we all carry our bags called life. From my perspective, and out of my own luggage in my life, she's living my nightmare. I drove like a madman when I was a teenager. I literally had a death wish when I was a teenager. I would ask every day, is today my day? And I'd say, please don't let me take anybody with me. And I look in her eyes and I see myself. I instantly forgave her. In my head, I just said, give me that. Give me that. Not a saint, not an angel. I'm not the best among us. My wife is better by me by far. Yet still, somehow, I forgave at the accident scene. It took my wife 2 years. My wife is a lifelong Catholic. My wife is a saint. My wife is an angel. But it took her time. And I just I say that to say this. Forgiveness isn't the domain of the righteous. It isn't the domain of any particular group or any particular individual or religion or anything. Forgiveness is our domain. It's something that all of us get to experience, no matter our background. Took Christine 2 years. Christine was under the car. Christine was torn and twisted, broken ribs, broken ankle, bumper hit her in the car, flesh ripped off her back. She was on pain meds for a considerable period of time. It took time for Quentin to get through. Quentin, when she was able to wean herself off the pain meds, and Quentin came through, and Christine was eventually able to forgive the saint among us that it took her 2 years. We showed up to court. Well, we've been working with the victim's advocate from almost immediately. There were 3 charges on the table. Could have been a year each, so she could have done 3 years. But there's no drugs, no alcohol. So we did everything. Early on, we did everything in our power so she wouldn't have to go to jail. Why would, we didn't want her to go to jail. I forgave her at the accident scene. What is that going to help? This was an accident. And here's another point. Who among us is perfect? Show of hands. I don't see any hands. None of us are perfect. Not a one. Any of us. Any of us could have caused an accident like this. We've all been distracted behind the wheel. You know, people text and talk on the phone, but it could be just looking at the radio for a millisecond. You look up. Any of us can be party to this tragedy. What gives us the right to not forgive? But remember how I started the talk, okay? It's very important how I started this talk. I talked about the fact that our kids show that we are eternal. It goes back to what James John Prague, JPP, what he had to say this morning. And that's not just James John Prague. That's in books. That's in Brian Weiss, Many Lives, Many Masters. That's in Dr. Michael Newton, The Journey of Souls, Destiny of Souls. That's in so many different spiritual texts. Things happen. They're soul contracts. We are on a fast track journey. We wrote this. Yet and still, those words, just words, they don't take it away. They don't take the pain away at all. I'm going to open it up here pretty quick, believe it or not. I will move a couple of slides forward. I just want to tell you, my wife and I, we are into his legacy. We're up here honoring our son. We're up here serving. We're serving you. I know there's heaviness in here. I feel it. I would hope and pray that I could help each and every one of you with that heaviness. I'm not that powerful. I'm not, but maybe I help one of you. Maybe I help two of you. Okay? This is good. Forgive others not because they deserve forgiveness, but because you deserve peace. You know, we can be unforgiving all we want. We can be angry. We can wish people the worst. We can make ourselves sick because we're so angry and unforgiving. Do you think the person that we haven't forgiven knows? Do you think they care? So who are we hurting? Again, just words, right? Think about it. How about a gift? Forgiveness is for you, okay? Forgiveness is for you. And I mean, does that sound sacrilegious? Forgiveness is not a box-checking exercise. Again, you don't do it because somebody told you to do it. You don't do it because you think you're supposed to. No. That's empty. That's devoid of meaning. You forgive because it helps you. Is that selfish? No. Now, if the person being forgiven cares enough and benefits from it, well, that's the icing on the cake. But that's not the intent of forgiveness. And I'll circle back here for a second here. We were in the courtroom when Amanda was sentenced. She got 10 days. We wanted 0. The judge spent about 15 minutes explaining why. For the year and 51 weeks after the accident, Amanda was in her own prison. When we saw her in the courtroom, we didn't recognize her. She had put on weight, she had awful acne, and she had a really bad case of bronchitis. She was suffering. Her family had found some of our videos online because, like I said, I was ripped open. I was on fire. I had this newfound knowledge, and I needed to tell everybody, there's no death. There's no death. Let me tell you how my son visits. And we talked about the accident in some detail. We talked about a medicine man. Amanda's Nala, her deceased grandfather's medicine man. You know where I'm going with this? We asked the victim's advocate, can we talk to Amanda? And he talked to the assistant DA, and they looked at each other. And they're like, do we allow this? Can you imagine how bad that would go? That's not something that usually happens. They asked Amanda. Amanda said yes. After sentencing, she got her 10 days after she said goodbyes to her family because she was going directly to Durango County Jail to serve her 10 days. She walked up with her hand up. He said no. I wrapped her up. And I whispered, don't worry about you. She knew she was forgiven. She served her 10 days. About 2 months later, we were at our house with grandma having breakfast. Forgiveness is a crazy thing. Some people don't care, some do. But again, forgiveness is for you first. Okay? And you know what? Don't put pressure on yourself, please. It's not a race. I can tell by looking at some of you that you're like, dude, you're crazy. This is not going to happen. Okay. There's next lifetime. I'm sorry, I joke. I have to joke. I mean, we know we're eternal. We talk about soul contracts. Does it frighten you to come back again? To maybe have another shot at learning forgiveness? Maybe we figure it out this year, or this year. This year would be great, this lifetime. How about that? We'll work on it this lifetime. Okay? And those words still don't make it easy. They're just words. How do you unload the anger and the rage? Well, just understand that you can't forgive. You're the prisoner. You created the walls. You created the bars. You're punishing yourself for something you didn't even do. Okay? Now I know there's another nuance here. The hardest nuance of all. So far I'm just talking about forgiving others. That's hard enough. You know what's harder? Yeah, you do. You know what's harder. When we think we've done something wrong, we created a story and we owned the fact that we think we have control, and we think we did something wrong. That's also part of your soul contract. Maybe you need to learn. Maybe you're going to learn you don't have control. Not to the extent you have. That was one of my takeaways. At the accident, I was trying to do everything right. I had fresh tires. I was driving slow. I'm not a slow driver. I should have done that earlier. I was doing everything right. I was so careful. That was my immediate takeaway. I don't have control. There's a life lesson for you. Hopefully I'll have to relearn that one. So when you're ready, and it's not a race, take your time. Next lifetime is fine. When you're ready, take a step of forgiveness. It's not going to be easy. And I'm a big movie buff. My wife and I are big movie buffs. You know, we jumped, anybody I've talked to here at the conference or has seen or heard me talk, I talk about the rabbit hole. When you learn, you're here because you're right there in the rabbit hole. You're here to help parents heal. You're like, wait a second, there's more. I want to know more about this. So you're either you jump down the rabbit hole or you're looking down at it, ready to go. And you're talking about soul contracts and lessons. And why am I here? Reincarnation. We're here to learn. We're here to experience. Some of us are here to learn and get more intimate with forgiveness. But where I was going was, now that we're down the rabbit hole, we've seen all these spiritual movies and read all these spiritual books. Has anybody seen or read the book The Shack? Whew. Do you remember Mac's journey with forgiveness? That was intense. He did not want to forgive. And he was full of judgment. Who among us aren't full of judgment? We're human beings. We're not saints. We all got stuff going on. So in the book, I think one of the entities told him, you know what, just start saying it. And say it 1,000 times a day until maybe at some point it begins to make sense. Wow, 1,000 times a day. It beats being angry. It beats not forgiving. Because that, what we talk about, you hurt yourself. No. And forgiving, we can't change the past. We can't change what somebody did. We can't. We can't change what we did. I personally have to forgive myself for the things I've done, the things I've said. Am I a decent person? I'd like to think so. But there's probably, I don't know, I want to get my percentages wrong. My best guess is maybe 10, 15% of the things I've done or said have been awful. Of course, that's all that I remember. I don't remember the good. Anybody else resonate with that? Amen. See, we're all in this together. We're all in it together. Change the future. Let go of the pain. Make a difference in the life of others. Grow. Honor our kids. I think this is going to be our last slide. The next one has too many words. I don't know, maybe I'll put it on. Holding on to anger is like grasping a hot coal with the intent of throwing it at someone else. We got hurt. That's what happens when you hold on to unforgiveness. Some of you feel it. Some of you feel it. And I know you do. Yet still, these words don't help. It's okay, maybe they will someday. All right, this has all the words. And this actually is kind of vibes with what you sent me, Mel. What was that, the little soul in the sun? Neil Donald Walsh. It goes into, finish reading that. It took me a long time to understand what it means to forgive someone. I always wondered how I could forgive someone who chose to hurt me. But after a lot of soul searching, I realized that forgiveness isn't about accepting or excuse me, their behavior. It's about letting go. And they're preventing their behavior from destroying my heart. Behavior, right? You're angry. You can't forgive. You're not hurting the person who did what you believe they did. We're here for a reason, and we are experiencing what we're experiencing for a reason. Yes? That's a bitter pill. It is a bitter pill. You're like, you can say no, right? You're full of stuff, dude. Do your own research, okay? Do your own reading. I'm glad you're here. We can talk about it. I think I've talked too long. I have more than just words. Who here wants to share their struggles? Sir.